Excellent. Welcome, everybody. We'll go ahead and call the September 16th meeting of the HPC to order. Those in attendance, I urge you, if you have not already picked up a copy of the agenda, should be in the back of the room somewhere, and please take note of the HPC's charter, or mission, if you will, at the bottom of that page. We'll go ahead and roll into approval of the consent agenda for the August 19th meeting. Do I hear a motion to accept? Thank you, Shanda. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll show that the consent agenda for August meeting has been approved. We can immediately go into new business. As I call your project, if you wouldn't mind, a representative come forward, have a seat at the desk up front here, and state your name and address for the record. We'll first begin with 2800 Rivermont Avenue. Good day, sir.
How are y'all?
Very good.
My name's Steve Lawson, and my address, you want my permanent, where I'm living now?
Permanent address,
House?
yes, sir.
My
Yes, sir.
permanent is, let me think for a second, P.O. Box 2281, Appomattox, Virginia. I live
Excellent.
right in town, 142 Lee Street,
Excellent. Thank you very much.
but I don't live there.
Sure.
Where can we go? Where should I start? Or-
You go ahead and state the nature of the address,
okay.
the nature of the work that's being proposed at the
Okay.
address.
On the sheet that I filled out here was a rough go of it. Early in the morning of 5:30, right at the end of May. It was a large storm up here apparently. And I got a call from a lady across the street that I know. She said it sounded like, guns had gone off and stuff. And she didn't know till the next morning the tree had fallen. But it was a tree. I don't know if anybody went by there. It took 2 days to clean it up. I had to get 2 crane trucks in to pull it off of the house. It was wedged in. If it had fallen, it had broken 3 or 4 more windows. The front door out. It knocked my slate greenstone foundation, my steps and porch out, et cetera. So we got everything moved out. And up on top of my roof where it fell, it went up approximately 8 or 10 feet, and it split, and was almost 40 inches wide at the split, just the one limb that fell. So it was all on top of my roof. It tore the facade in places, the gutter down, et cetera. I mean, paint coming down, through there. And people were living in the house, not in the downstairs apartment, but the upstairs apartment there. So I got my property manager, I can't even think. Lynchburg Renting, Bruce Gallia, handles the apartments and stuff for me. And I told him what was going on. He came over and took a look and stuff. And we got people up on top. He had a roof over immediately, and just torn all to pieces of the tin where chunks of the roof, the limb had gone through the roof and scattered things around. And I had someone else come up also from Buckingham County and look at it. A gentleman who used to do 10 years ago. I've owned many of 10 roofs and houses. I love old houses. I live in one in Appomattox. It was my grandmother's, built in 1920 also. And I've restored them. I actually a contractor. I have a Class A contractor's license too. And anyway, just torn all to pieces. They put covers on it and stuff to keep the rain out. And it was a temporary basis. I tried to get here for the June meeting, and there was miscommunication. I missed by a few hours of having my application in. I got in the morning. It had to be that midnight.
Okay.
So I wasn't able to come in June to try to take care of things. And I knew I was on vacation in August. I've been planning 2 years. I haven't been with my kids. So we were all on vacation. That's why I'm here in September now.
Sure.
So I've had a tarp over top of my house. You probably see it's a blue one there now and stuff
Yes.
or whatever. So, but everything is dry. So what I'm attempting to do, the house was built in about 1920. And I don't know, maybe 5, 6 years ago, I've completely remodeled the houses. I have heat pumps in all the units. I have nice tile floors. The hardwood floors have been urethaned. The electrical work updated, everything. I buried my power lines coming into the house, et cetera. And anyway, the roof was painted at the time. It has patches in it here and there. I mean, it's 100 years old and stuff right now. So got looking at what to do with the tin roof, and I wasn't as familiar then. And I talked to Woodall and Lang. They used to, I was a town official with Appomattox, and we used to get them to do all our roofing work and
Right.
stuff. They said 3 or 4 years ago, the only people they had that did that type of work, they stopped doing that type of work.
That's right.
And I told you, I called a gentleman in Buckingham that used to do work for me with tin. He did tin and copper, and he said it was a mess. And he gave me an estimate, at least 15,000. It was at least 10 squares. And he could do a galvanized roof, but with a galvanized roof, to look like it, the paint won't adhere to it. I've had problems other places. I called James T. Naves. They've helped me for 30 years. Talked to the head painting guy there, and he said in about 4 years, no matter what you do, it's going to need painting again.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be a complete mess. And what we have, and trying to match it with the large seams and stuff that it has. So again, I love old homes. We had another old home too in Appomattox I was trying to preserve. I wanted to look great. And in talking to our insurance agent, we have insurance. And again, it being in the historic district, so I knew I had to do something and come to y'all and figure out what we could work out. So I found out the only thing I could do besides come and ask was to put the seam back, which no one can really do anymore right now. And then it's so cost prohibitive that then I have the rest of the house and then the painting all the time. So I checked, and nobody can make anything quite like that in the front. So I got looking at other products, and I sent some pictures
Yes.
of some products to you. And I talked to the regional manager. There's one, it's called Stormmaster Slate. This is a different product, and this is 60% better than asphalt. I've got the product here I can show you and stuff. And I also, there's another product, it's called Da Vinci Slate. And I understand this was used at Lynchburg College from the regional manager on there. New building, plus on Rivermont Avenue, there was a fire somewhere that he said they put this on that. So in looking at prices, I have prices just to tell you, that's roughly $500 a square, just the material. Yeah. And this other shingle is roughly maybe $100 a square. I haven't gotten a price yet. So you can see the cost of the price. And then we're talking tin of $1,500, even if I could even get it. My roof is probably in excess of over 50 squares, and nobody has given me any definite size, because I think it's larger than that, possibly 60 squares. And in talking, I have Loughton Insurance, and they've told me in the bottom of the paragraph that I wrote you, I would type of shingle looking would be very close to the replacement cost of the affected slopes of the metal, which I can't replace. Therefore, I would be likely to put an entire new roof on the home with this alternative material instead of having a mismatched roof with some type of metal that doesn't match. The roofing materials I like to be would be very attractive, period looking, etc.
So your preference is to use that polymer slate?
I have two, and I will show you and kind of, the insurance agent didn't come, not agent, but representative.
Okay.
This is the Da Vinci that you have, there was a picture there before, the larger, that one right
Yes.
there. Comes in different colors, and we want something that looks like it.
Sure.
This is made by the same people, and this is a little bit less expensive than that. And this was put on, I was told, I just picked this sample up. They're located, I can't think, ECK Electrical, back over in that area. And the depot in Bedford was the first one in the area, and this roof is on the depot in Bedford that they did. But it's the polymer slate like this.
Okay.
So this is what, my first choice, because it's less expensive, and they're willing to help out. And if you can figure, we're at, what, $500 a square, just the material, and then labor to put it on, over 50-some squares.
Right.
We're talking way up $75,000 for a roof.
Sure enough.
And this one, like I said, less expensive, but it would still be on up there in cost, versus this other shingle that I will show you. And it's not really called an asphalt, but I have material here all about it. To show you, it's a Stormmaster. It's higher winds than what they put at the beach and stuff, and they've used it in historic areas. And they call this a Stormmaster Slate. because it's a slate look at how they do it and put it. And again, haven't gotten the exact on this, but we're probably talking a couple $100 a square putting it on. So therefore, with the insurance company talking, because they know the rest of the roof doesn't look as good and that, then I'd have mismatched roof and I can't get a material that's similar to that. And I've been told, I haven't argued with the insurance company yet, that once you do one, if you can't mismatch, then they really have to do it. But he tells me they don't have to, but he's willing to pay more money to get an entire roof on it and not have any more problems, which I would love, and it would look a lot better than what is there now.
Sure.
So my first choice, and I don't tell them, would be this, more expensive.
Right.
But, you know, it would be up to y'all, but if for some reason I can't work out a payment for that, I don't know if I really want it, y'all giving me approval for this until I find out. Because if he knew this was approved, then he's gonna say, we're going for cheaper.
Sure.
You know, as far as anything.
Of course.
And I mean, I think this looks nice. I've seen houses that have this. Actually, we're living in the Greensboro area right now. And in our neighborhood, they're $500,000, $600,000 houses that have this material on it.
Sure enough.
And it just looks very nice. And I know I would never have a problem putting this on the house versus the tin, but we're still talking a lot of money, you can see even for this. But I'd rather have this and try to get it from the insurance company, just to replace the entire roof, to have it all looking conformed and no more problems or anything like that.
Sure.
So that's basically what I'm looking at.
All right.
And I
Commissioners,
sent
anyone have
pictures,
any
but they're the
questions
three
or comments
samples.
about the material there?
Well, I drove by, and I'm sure other commissioners did as well, and I just looked at the roofs around you as well.
Yeah,
And there's slate, and there's architectural roofing,
Right.
and there's metal.
yeah,
So all of those are around you. Right directly next to you is
Right.
Randolph College.
right,
And they have slate.
right,
And I like the idea of the slate look.
right.
And it's something that national, which we kind of discussed a little bit, and I looked when you sent in your proposal and your application, just to see what National Historic District was approving. And they are starting to consider polymers as an option because of the cost.
Right, right.
It does give the same look. And I would be in favor of your first choice
Right.
of the Belfort slate.
What was on it originally?
10, I don't think it's ever, it was built in about 20. The gentleman, lady beside me, she used to, I've owned this house for about 36 years. And the lady beside me, her husband owned the pharmaceutical company off of 29 there. They have an addition to back, they have a copper roof on that they put on years ago. And she donated that house to the college or whatever years ago. But directly across from me, they have a slate roof, and then Miss Jones that lives across the street, she has an asphalt shingle roof, and she just put that on you a few years ago, she told me, because she already had one on the house, I guess it was.
This roof is, I assume you believe it's original to the house, the existing?
I don't know the history, I mean, I'm just guessing, I don't know.
And what
I
you're
mean,
saying-
usually I had another house that was built in 1892, right by the courthouse in Appomattox that I owned. And I was in the process of renovating that, and that roof was in great shape, and I think that was original, but, you know, nowhere through the records can I go back and find out when, or was something changed, or, you know, what it was.
And so you say this roof has leaks and problems anyway, the rest of the house?
There are places that I've patched. About 6 years ago, we repainted the entire house. Like I said, we did all the updating, the heat pumps, electrical, everything in there. I had French doors, dining rooms, old fireplaces, got the exposed brick over the fireplace back inside and everything. I mean, it's beautiful. The kitchen's redone, all the bathrooms with tile and stuff in them, kept all the old faucets.
Well, I don't understand why you, I mean, the house is, you know, getting to be 100 years old. If the roof needs to be replaced, obviously the insurance company's kicking in money.
Right,
I don't understand why you just don't replace it with in-kind, which is the metal.
Because we're probably talking excess possibly of $100,000 for the roof.
No, you're not.
Well, if you want to put it back like that, yeah, I mean, some of the modern stuff,
That would be more money right there, I would think, the Da Vinci slate.
no, no.
Well, I mean. it's
Well,
not-
as I said, at 500, the Da Vinci, they wanted 500 a square
I
almost.
I just had a house, I just had a metal roof put on, and it cost me $16,000, brand new, and the house is 48 feet long by 28
Yeah.
4 feet wide. I mean, there's no way that, I mean, people are putting metal roofs on all
Right.
the time, it's not.
Well, I've seen some of the metal roofs, and again, I'm from Appomattox, and they put a metal roof, we have a recreation area right around across from the courthouse. And they put the old metal roof on, and I don't like what it looks like. I don't think it looks historic or anything whatsoever, what
Have
they
you had
put
an
on there.
estimate on the
And I've
historic?
checked also, I just got off the phone again today, a friend of mine, Rick Book, is a purchaser for J.E. Jameson. I've known him my entire life. And he looked around trying to find something for me that would look, and he couldn't find anything per se. And he was the one checking on this other price for me, for the Atlas.
Have you had a price on a metal roof?
I had the gentleman come up who
Now, they
did
don't
10
make-
roofs that, you know, I told you he could make the galvanized and make it, wow. But he gave me a price, it was gonna be at least $15,000 just for the area. But that didn't include painting. Painting is not gonna stay on it. James T. Davis has told me that by my own personal experience.
We got that part.
Yeah.
The big thing is the house has always been 10
Yeah,
and really should remain 10. I mean, to say, well, I like something different and want to flip it is just, in a historic district, is just not appropriate from that standpoint.
We could probably give you names of contractors who put 10 roofs all over Lynchburg.
I mean, we've had
well,
multiple
I've talked to
10,
3 or 4, and again, the people, Woodall and Lang are one of the best people, and they couldn't give me names or anything like that to put on. That's what I wanted to do.
We're not asking you to duplicate the old style turned roof, we're just saying a metal roof, a new metal roof. The legs can, you know, they're
Well,
all over the place. I mean-
what I've seen, I don't personally like. I mean, I don't think they look that good and
but
historical.
that's personal taste.
Well, I know.
Again, it's a
And I
little
thought
irrelevant.
that's what, I mean, this was all about, was taste and looking nice and being
No,
attractive,
it is
and
not.
not just putting something metal because it's
more-
metal
It's
on.
more about keeping the
Historical
original
guidelines, yeah.
aspect, and the, yeah, of the house itself. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not for making things pretty.
There's been metal, I mean, contractors have sat here in that chair last month with a tin roof to go on a historic house
Yeah.
that was approved. So, you know, it's done in historic districts frequently. It's not the old turn metal, the old Follinsby. He's correct that Follinsby is not made anymore like the roof that's on the existing house. But there are new metal roofs. If you're gonna look at doing a full replacement, there are metal roofs that would emulate what you have. You get the low 1-inch high joints. It's pre-finished, so you don't have to paint. There's not an issue with with paint coming off. You get long-term warranties on the tin. From the standpoint of it's an existing house in the historic district with tin that appears to be original, it would seem like you would need to replace it in kind and not switch it to something that's a completely different image that wouldn't have been that house to start with.
Well, I mean, again, it's an image, but it's an image that is in the neighboring homes, et cetera. I mean, it's like, but yes,
this
it did
home.
have it.
What's next door
Yeah.
is somewhat irrelevant in
Yeah.
terms of, you know, it's
Yeah.
what was on this
Oh,
originally.
I understand. And again, I don't know that it didn't have Slate on it. I doubt it, though. I mean, I have no idea for sure. But,
Well, it's
again,
good.
even the
It's worth
insurance
going
agent
there.
gave me names of contractors and I called too. And nobody, you know, had anything, you know, to kind of match it or put on or any suggestions.
I think we may be able to pull some resources that
So
maybe
Victoria
an
pulled up
insurance
your,
agent might
your
not have had.
property, Have you looked at this online? This tells you about your house was built in 1905, and it does say that the roof-
1905?
Mhm.
Okay, I
And
saw
that's from the
20
city
somewhere.
records. And it does say that the roof type was metal, so that would have been in 1905,
Okay.
so that would have been the original roof.
And the fact that it's lasted 100 years.
Yeah, the 1905 is different than what I've
150.
seen. They've updated because they have heat pumps and stuff on there now. Last thing I saw was 1920 when it was built. That's what I thought all this entire time.
Mr. Lawson, I think as Chairman said, we have seen several tin replacement submissions in recent months, so that we could go back to records and find those contractors at minimum. And there are certainly others that
Yeah.
put on a replacement
You
tin
do
that,
some, there's Craftsman,
yeah,
Yeah.
I know
So-
Craftsman does it.
absolutely does. I'd
Yeah.
like to suggest that you research that a bit and find that information and
Well, if you
Basically,
have names of
withdrawing
people, I'd be
from that.
glad to call. I've been waiting 75 days. I've got a hole in my roof. One tenant has already moved out because of it, trying to get an okay, and this is what I've been wanting to know. I mean, I can't send everybody, not everybody does 10, so do I get a price? I mean, the time and effort to do that, or some other type of material that I've looked for, et cetera. So, I mean, I haven't seen anything that's new out there. Where I am in Greensboro with roofs, I'd love to see what it looks like and stuff. But again, you were saying, not necessarily looks, it's a fact, it's tin.
Right.
correct.
It'll
Yeah,
still
I-
look very similar, it's just the process is a
Yeah,
little different now.
yeah.
It's a lock-in system as opposed to the old
Right.
turn, but, you know, you still, I mean, it's still, and there are different variations of tin roofs, so if you get a tin roof put on, you still have to come back here to get the type approved. You know, they have different sort of ribs on roofs, different leg heights.
Right. I
different
know there are
ridge
many
caps,
different
all
types
that
I've
sort of
seen.
thing. And
I've
so
just
you gotta
never
get-
seen anything quite like,
Well,
But if you're gonna replace the whole thing, it doesn't have to match what's there. That's what I think they're saying.
This is a hand crimped, done
Right.
100 years ago.
right.
You can
That-
get a modern version of this
Right.
that will work well.
Maybe
and
they
I
get
think
something
would
close
come in-
enough that it matches that you can't tell the difference once it's.
I think it'd be a cost savings too over that expensive.
no, I mean, I think it would be a lot cheaper than that Da
Yeah.
Vinci.
It would seem like.
Yeah.
The guidelines do say that replacement should match as close as possible, but it doesn't say it has to duplicate it.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
So you're not gonna replace the whole roof, you're keeping kind of what's there, and you want to just,
No, he wants to
Yeah.
replace
I'm
the
trying,
whole
the
thing.
oh, road.
insurance company said they would possibly help me with replacing the entire roof, which would be better. So if I have to go up and put a metal, and then they're not gonna pay for the rest of the roof, I'm not doing anything for the rest of the roof. I mean, it's still there. So I'm trying to put a whole roof, would look much better, even so some of the paint and the rust is coming through this roof and the looks of it. But, you know, it's not leaking.
Time
And this
being-
wasn't leaking before the tree fell. So I was trying to accommodate and have the entire house looking nice for a lifetime for somebody.
Sure.
So-
Time being somewhat of the essence, given this is a, tarps on a roof have a limited lifespan. Replacing in kind with a very similar style metal roof, is that something that could be, if he's able to find one, maybe with some, if we are able to provide some guidance, contractors we've seen through here before that he can reach out to, is that something that would be able to be approved administratively
you can
without
give him-
coming back again a whole month from now?
While roofs are categorized as major work, however, if you want to do something with conditions at this meeting, say conditional upon using one of the contractors listed or contractors of this type, to make it a metal standing seam roof, then that's something we can work with.
Just how imperative it is that we actually, that we
Is
as a
it
body
possible
see it
for
as
us
opposed to
To vote on.
them
ne-
seeing
on
the s-
allowing
staff
him
seeing
to
the specs.
replace it in kind
Right.
now.
Well,
So-
he can't replace it in kind because they don't, I mean, that's saying that he'd have to do the old system, which
Okay.
that's what he's talking
Right,
about.
which they don't
do
do.
anymore. So you can, you know, we can approve a metal roof, but again, you've got to look at the ridge cap,
Hmm.
the height of the legs, ribs, no ribs, and, you know, he probably doesn't even understand what we're talking about,
Yeah,
so
it's a little
that,
different.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I understand everything. If the area where it's torn up, I've got cupolas, I've got all kinds, it's angles and bridges, this whole front of the house there.
but if you wanted to look at a roof, I mean, you can direct him to G Street, the one that I just put on. That's sort of what we're talking about, as far as a metal roof. I can give you the contractor who did it. And I think he's very reasonable. Craftsman, like she said, is another one. Perimeter Roofing is
Yeah, I
another
would
one.
love a list, I mean, of the contracts where I can call and stuff,
Sure.
so.
And I'll give the information to Victoria, and she'll pass it on to
We
you.
had a tin roof approved just last meeting.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, whoever's doing that.
Harrison Street.
On Harrison, that would be another. I don't know if his is done yet.
No, I don't think he started.
Yeah, I doubt it.
But if that his information would have the contract.
He was with Perimeter, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that Perimeter Roofing that was doing that work?
If I had the owner's name or whatever, I could
think
talk to
it's
the
West
owner,
Perimeter.
Oh, the mathematics.
find out. Who is it? The contractors for my phone?
The owner,
The
or
owner.
Farmville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Farmville.
Yeah, I believe it was
Yeah.
Perimeter
But
that was
wasn't the
doing that project.
contractor here with him?
Perimeter,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure
Perimeter.
that was Perimeter, pretty sure.
So there's two right there, Perimeter and Craftsman.
Craftsman.
And I'll give you one more. I know his name, I just can't think of his company name. I just know him by his name. But,
Mhm.
okay, so how are we leaving this?
So, well, we'll have to have I mean, we'll have to have a vote as to whether or not we accept the COA as submitted, which is regarding the polymer slate in this particular case.
Or you could approve the roof replacement on a condition that he uses
That
different
it's done in
materials.
10, huh? Yeah,
And,
that's it.
I wish Ann were here, but Chris, I'm asking for your advice on this. Is it possible that you could do metal roof with review by an HPC member? So that once he does research and looks at contractors and says, okay, is this all right? Have his advocate look
It
at
seemed like
it.
it would need to come back.
I think it
Yeah,
would
I
probably
think
have to
so,
come back
too.
unless,
How about
Because I don't know the guidelines.
if we
Well, let me,
approved?
let me
Unless-
ask you, it's
Because
this,
it-
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
unless the staff were to, I don't know whether they can approve, because it's, like you said before, it's not completely in kind, because it's not something that's duplicated any longer.
So the only other thing that I could think of, and, you know, we understand your dilemma here, you gotta get it done, but,
Yeah.
If you perhaps approved it with the same roof as that was put on another project that we recently approved, another tin roof.
The same specs, you mean,
Yeah,
as in precedent?
and if he wants to deviate from that, if he sees that, says okay, then he can do it. If he wants to deviate or change something, then I guess,
Would the
Yes.
specs from the Harrison Street house work on this? Do you know?
well, he can do my house, because I don't know if Harrison's even done yet.
Okay.
But I know mine is, and I know that was approved, and that would be, it's very similar to the look on his house.
Do you happen to remember your specs?
Excuse me?
Do you happen to remember the specs from your house?
Yeah, mine I do. It had a short leg, I can't remember exactly, you know what the leg size?
Probably 1 inch.
Probably 1 inch leg, low profile, ridge cap that's, just sits on top of the leg, and it did not have ribs.
We had that discussion
Right.
you weren't here last week, or last month, and we had one about the extra ribs in the middle,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
agreed not to do those.
Right.
Now, the problem with what I just said, and you'll see this, the address of the house is on, do you know where Daniels Hill is?
Yeah.
Cabell Street? Just go on G Street, there's not even a number on it yet, on the house. It's a carriage house, and it's on G Street off of Cabell, you'll find it. And it's got a red roof. The issue is when you don't put the ribs, the reason for the ribs is to give it strength, so you sort of see what's called oil canning, which is visible on mine. And I don't particularly like that either, but it is more historic.
Historical.
Absolutely.
yeah,
And you can
absolutely.
avoid that, by, if you get 24 gauge, metal, specified 24 gauge metal, and you will get less of that.
Stronger.
It's
oil
different.
canning.
Yeah, the only thing, and I appreciate what you're trying to do, and again, I've got to go back to Greensboro tonight, and I've got to go to Appomattox first. I took off this afternoon. It's a 2.5 hour drive from here to where I live in Greensboro, and having to come back up. So if there's any kind of way we can do something, or I don't know who else I could get to come here to do something. Could I ask one other thing, and I'm not anything against it, but I see here, and again, working with the insurance company, I was hoping, I don't know if he's gonna go, he's already told me he would do something with these. And in your policy on roofs, it says original roof form should be preserved and maintained in addition to rods and desired skylights, side roofs, not visible from the street. Historic roof materials such as metal standing seam, clay tiles, or slate should be repaired and preserved. If repair is no longer practical, replacement with an appropriate substitute material is appropriate. And then in the next sentence on the roofs, it said, should be preserved in their original size, shape and width with original features such as cresting funnels, cupolas, and if possible, with original roof material. So it doesn't say it has to be a metal, correct?
But it does say, and this has been interpreted before, and I'm an ex-lawyer, so if possible, what we have here is you haven't proven it's not possible,
Yeah.
because we've seen it done.
Well, it's impossible to basically do what is there now.
I think what that, what that is referring to is just what we're talking about. In other words, you cannot replace the one you have because they don't do that system anymore. So a replacement roof would be what, still metal, but it's going to be, we realize it's going to be a little different.
So
but
looking at
it's-
the side of my house where it's the wide seam, and then where it's gonna have to break there, I'm gonna have a different colored metal and different ribs and everything. That's gonna look good, coming down Rivermont Avenue.
It's
Well,
the
what-
in-kind part of that. The paragraph you read is, if the
Yeah.
house had been slate, the faux slate would be appropriate because it's in-kind.
Oh, I know.
But because it's metal and has been metal for 100+ years, in-kind is metal as opposed to slipping to
Well, I just
shingles.
wanted to bring up, it didn't say it had to be in kind, it said possibly, if possible, so.
Yeah, and basically that's
Right.
because there's all different types of circumstances, but in your particular case,
Right.
we know that the house always has had metal.
Okay.
So that's what we're just trying to preserve is that, that particular property. So what are we making? Are we making a
So-
motion?
Is there a motion to approve it with the condition that it would be metal and then the specs that Rick had mentioned?
I will move that the house, that the application be denied as requested. However, for expediency in its repair, a metal roof with 1-inch legs, low profile ridge cap if used, and no ribs in the metal can be used. What about the width?
We had a big discussion on
We
that
did.
last week.
What
The
do you-
more narrow width is more appropriate, depending on what system you're purchasing, I think.
We
Some-
did have a citizen call and complain about the approval of the 24 width and said that 22 is more appropriate from last meeting.
22, I think, would be a maximum. I think you try to get in the 16 to 18 is more appropriate for a residential metal roof.
You don't know what your width is?
I don't have any idea. So wide
So we
with,
could say, so
Looks small.
the width,
Yeah, it's not very wide.
the width not to exceed 22 inches?
I think that'd be good.
Color can be administratively approved.
Was there a color on the metal roof? Was there, I don't remember a color.
it's black.
Black.
I have it a smoky gray with white trim.
So does he need to go back with that color? Is that the original?
So we could approve that right now. We could say smoky gray or black color is approved at this meeting. A difference in color could possibly be administratively approved.
Normally it's flipped that roof colors as they are. I can approve them administratively, and if he wishes to
Okay.
change it, then it goes to HPC, or at least the advocate weighs in.
Okay.
I think if we're gonna be consistent about what we're saying about, wanting to be original, then we need to consider the color as well.
Yeah, I think black or gray would be appropriate. that could be an administrative approval.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
On Rick's motion. Okay, we're hearing a second. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and call for, yes.
I'm sorry, so the rest, I'm zoomed in on your pictures here. So the rest of the damage there that's not metal roof, you're doing in kind, the eaves, the soffits, all the wood?
Yeah, yeah. It's
That'll all go back just how it was?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's torn up under there. You can probably see where some of the stuff ripped down right there, et cetera. And actually, on the left-hand side above the windows, you probably can't see it. It's a little piece of tin roofing over on the right-hand side of the tree that was on the front of the house.
Oh, yeah,
It was
yeah.
ripped. On the left-hand side, the front, yeah,
Yeah.
right up above there. Yeah, you can't see it from the tree there all the way.
Oh, I see, yes, yep.
Yeah, there it is. right
Yeah,
there.
Going up or
it
up
does,
Which
it
one?
does.
All, everything
Yeah,
on
this
both
stuff?
sides were ripped. Behind the cupola, the front there, and on back.
Mine has.
Okay, all right.
Thank
Any
you.
other, anything
Thank you.
else? No? Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, we'll call that as it is, and we will definitely do our effort to try and get you information quickly.
I'd appreciate it.
As well.
Thank you.
Some folks that we know that are doing this work right
Right.
now in town.
Yeah, I
Help you
like to
out
see
some.
the metal and stuff,
Yeah.
so. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Lawson.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here.
All right, we'll move on to 2436 Rivermont Avenue. If you would please come up to the table, state your name and address for the record.
Hey, Rodney Foster, 1087 Creek Bend Lane, Forest, Virginia.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome. Good to have you here.
Yeah, I'm the contractor for the job.
Excellent. Go ahead and state the nature of the work that is proposed.
Yeah, there was a fire in the rear of the building. That's on the side, so it did take out a couple windows on the side and several things on the back of the home. I have asked the insurance company if we could replace all the windows, and I'm still waiting to hear. And actually, depends on what you tell us, anyways.
Sure.
Yeah, we're just trying to go back. So we are going to repair the siding. That's all the damaged sidings on the rear. So we're going to repair that. Slate roof stays. There's a lot of holes in it, but we're just going to repair those as well with slate. And we're looking to go back with a solid wood window, but a double hung window with SDL on them. So it'll have that similar look.
When you say holes in the roof from fire escaping?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, small holes.
Okay, gotcha.
Maybe not even, maybe we didn't know about it until the ceiling was gone.
Okay.
So, but I see daylight. That's a bad thing.
Yes. All right.
So, yeah, I'm just trying to go back with a
you have a
double
picture?
hung.
Do you have a picture of the window? I mean, I know you said, it mentioned Gelderman somewhere.
Yeah, either Jelwyn or the Sierra Pacific. I found the insurance company sent me to them. But they, they have a all wood double hung, so we would lose the ropes, but we would be able to insulate a little better. But it's an SDL window, and they can mimic the pattern on all the windows that you have,
Okay.
or that we currently have.
So you'd be matching I don't see an existing window. Is it
Well, yeah, one was a
Two of
vinyl
them.
window, but we're just going back with wood anyways. But
Oh,
like,
good.
if we get it approved, we will. Go. Yeah,
so
those windows will look better.
So they
And-
look like, am I seeing 1/1s, Victoria, in one of that pictures? Go to the front.
They're 2/2,
They're 2/2 on the
and the
front.
front has got really some nice ornate ones on that bay.
Yeah, and the Sierra's one that they could match. They have some. I mean, they don't show that exact pattern, but they said they can mimic that pattern. Oh, yeah.
Do you have the double hung in that book? Do you have the actual window in that book?
No,
Oh, so you don't have any double hungs in here?
the only samples they had were all clad.
Oh.
And I already heard that was a no-no.
Actually glad
We can do it?
Yeah, you can do clad.
Clad or, it's just not going straight aluminum. I mean,
Okay.
a straight vinyl.
Right.
Okay.
But you can get the aluminum clad wood.
Well, this is rock-proof wood, so I thought that was a good,
Yeah, that's a good,
Yeah.
good route, particularly if you're gonna paint so that you can paint to match.
Right.
Correct.
It's a good direction, but you can get, particularly if they're gonna pony up monies to do a full replacement,
right, that's what we're looking for.
and you can get the clad, we
So
have.
you will approve the white clad?
We have,
Well, So
yeah.
right now, we just have wood in there, and they
Yeah.
are, actually, the number they gave me is not that far off from what we can get these for installed.
Yeah, the biggie is gonna be your matching profile in terms of same size, same pattern, narrow muttons, historical divided lights, as opposed to, the applied things that stick in between.
Yeah, so we're not doing the GBG, we're doing the simulated divided light.
Definitely not
Yeah.
GBG.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So, what I've seen out there is that the remainder of the house, the windows look good to me. They're repairable.
Mhm.
They're all solid pine. I mean, you might have some issues that I can't see, but you're just judging by walking around. This window on the side, yeah, right up, you have another view, the one up from that is the one I looked at.
That's all I
That was
sent.
pretty well exposed. It had paint issues and all that, and glazing issues, but I would say that all the windows that are destroyed, in the back,
Mhm.
obviously that one on the side, I guess, is not there anymore. The windows that have been destroyed can be replaced with Geldwin. I think they're also fine, the Sierra Pacific window. Again, they can be aluminum clad, but they do have to be simulated divided light
Correct,
and match the same profile, shadow lines and all that of the original windows.
okay. So you're saying if I can get them to replace all the windows, you don't want them replaced?
No, they don't need to be.
Okay.
If they're in good shape, yeah.
They're in good shape.
The front of the house, I believe, is okay, it's the sides where they've,
Well, now, if there's specific windows, we're approving the back, and that, I guess that was the kitchen on that side.
yes, sir.
That window, but everything else, and I don't know what, I couldn't obviously see the window upstairs, I don't know how that one is, but if there is, we'll approve this one, the ones in the back. Did the fire go right through there to the second floor?
Yes, sir.
So is that window destroyed up there?
Yeah, I believe that one's in bad shape, yes.
So we'll just say from that point
And the whole rear.
And around.
and the
corner.
rear
Yeah.
can be replaced.
Okay.
Anything beyond that, from this, from that, see that, let me see that side picture again? What is this?
There's a
The
front window
downspout.
right there,
Is
yes,
that
sir.
a downspout? From the downspout
Now,
down.
okay, leave.
Toward the street should be repaired. If there's if there are windows that you see that cannot be repaired or some issue, you'd have to, I guess, come back
Okay.
to the board, but, I mean, they look pretty good to me.
There's one on the right-hand side, I don't know if it was something with the fire department, it's just in bad shape.
Well, of course, the good thing about windows is that the wood windows, if it's broken, smashed, the sashes, they can be repaired. The stiles can be repaired, the rails can be repaired.
Right.
And, you're a contractor, you probably can repair them yourself. So they're repairable. And so that's even damaged windows.
Mhm. The missing windows are hard to repair, yes.
Yeah, missing ones.
Yeah.
But for the ones that can be repaired, we prefer, take it
Okay,
out, repair it.
so try to take it out, and then if I can't, just holler back.
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
I don't have any fights on my hands.
was that the only thing with,
Is that all I needed?
well, we gotta, I move that the windows, the application be approved with only windows damaged beyond repair, which at this point seem to be the rear side, the rear portion of the house.
Right.
I'll give you a little leeway there.
Okay.
Back half. Yeah.
Geldwin or Sierra Pacific windows as presented are acceptable. Aluminum clad is acceptable, as long as the windows match in profile
Mhm.
and are simulated divided light.
second.
Now, with that said, now that's the motion, but these, did you say there were 2/2?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A lot of times when we do replacement windows, you know, we allow 1/1.
Okay.
Um,
Well, there's
We
a
didn't say that
hodgepodge
in
of
this.
windows. I mean, there's a grill
Just-
patterns all over the place in there, but
You know, if you follow the Secretary of the Interior standards for preservation, you know, the reason for that is because they want to differentiate the new from the old. So if you put another window in there that's, you know, if you have like 6/6 and you're replacing a window, they'll say put 1/1, that way you know it's new. I mean,
Right.
you know, depending where it is, of course, I
right,
guess.
the rear of the house, not that important.
Yeah, so if that's something, you know, and I didn't put that in in my motion, but,
Yeah, several of the windows that are gone, I'm not sure what they look like because they were gone when I got there. So, but I mean, they're rear, like I said, they're rear of the house. There's one vinyl window, and I actually asked them if we could go back, if they would pay for us to put a wood window in, and they said, the insurance company, and they agreed.
you just did say that 2/2, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, should we add that? Maybe, you know, keep 2/2 on the sides if you want to go 1/1 on the back? Is that, if they want, okay, so
Yeah.
I'll add that. to
I'll make
my-
it look right.
Well, I'll add that to my motion, that any windows on the rear part of the house that face the side
Mm-hmm,
should match the original with 2/2.
okay.
Rear of the house, you can, if you
1/1.
so choose, we'd go with 1/1.
Okay.
Makes sense. Okay. Do I hear a re-second on that?
Re-second.
Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns? No, hearing none, call for a vote. All those in favor? Hearing none opposed, free to begin that work.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your coming in.
Hey, when can I get a building permit then? Tomorrow?
That's over there.
No, but you have to give them something to give me one.
Tell you what, do you want to come pick up the ceiling?
Yes.
Then I'll work on having it for you tomorrow morning.
Awesome. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
Good day.
All right, looks like we are not dealing with number 4 today, but number 3 is a discussion on roofing. Timely discussion, discuss the use of different appropriate roof coatings for the draft of the roof material sheet.
So it's, sorry for leading you astray last meeting. It's not so much the materials of the roofs, but the historically correct commercially available roof coatings that can be considered for repairs, that the guidelines say we have a list of, which we do not. The secretary, the National Secretary Standards for Historic Preservation are not clear on roof coatings either. So this is more of up to the discretion of the Historic Preservation Commission.
Okay, so what type of things we would allow? Obviously, I guess we just think back to the ones that we have,
Roof coatings, what are we talking about here?
Yeah,
Commercially available roof coatings for standing seam metal.
Oh, for sanding steam
Yeah.
metal.
We were gonna discuss what we were gonna allow as far as Slate, so I'm just totally wrong.
Well, I think a big part of the discussion when the last application came in terms of roofing, we talked about the leg height, that standard commercial stuff gets 1.5 and 2 sometimes, that we would, for residential, want to keep it at 1.
correct.
The ridge is always an issue because none of the current commercial companies do just a single seam, continuous ridge like the historic houses did in the past. They now want that big cap. And basically, to get the warranty, the non-leak warranty, they want the big cap. And if you start saying, no, we don't want the big cap, they'll say, oh, fine, we'll do it the other way, but we're not gonna warranty it. And so that's certainly a homeowner is gonna say, well, wait a minute, you're gonna make me put a roof on that I can't get a warranty on? Then
Well, I
that's,
just did the smaller one.
did you?
No, my insurance company hasn't said anything about it. I didn't know that they were denying them.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, it's still a ridge I mean, it's still vented.
Yeah, yeah,
So I don't see why there would be an issue with that.
and maybe there's a size difference depending on particular manufacturer. Maybe that's something we need to look at to see what the options are, what you found versus what, you know, Acme Roofing Company provides that doesn't really play in the historic market very much. That might be a different. And then the last item was the panel width. Because typically you see, I think this house that we just looked at, I didn't get up and measure it, but typically they're in that 16 to 18 inch range. If I'm remembering the contractor that was here, he said, no, it's 19 to 24 is the stock that he could only get. So I think we need to look at maybe a range of manufacturers that would inform us as to, okay, these 5, we can get the narrower gauge, the narrower rib panel widths, versus these other 5 only make the big widths. So that we can say, okay, no, you're asking for the Fred and Barney company roof that only does the big. If you go to Mary and Jane's Roofing Company, you can get the smaller, or these 3 or 4 or 5 roofs manufacturers can get the smaller panel, which is more appropriate. I think that's something that would really help us, inform us, Victoria, in terms of down the road. I mean, the roof that we just saw, you can still buy it. Comes out of Germany, it's 3 times the price. So, you know, it's gonna be hard for us to say, ship it in from Germany and bite the bullet.
Right,
Because-
and I think, you know, what he was just suggesting with the Da Vinci slate, I mean, even if it's fake, I mean, that would be much more than a metal roof.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand that
I didn't
argument.
understand the application to begin with, and I had
No.
a hard time wondering
Well, I
why
did too.
he thought that was gonna be okay if the original roof was metal, but.
Yes, I think in terms of the metal, you know, there's some nuances some detailing. I'm less concerned about quote-unquote coatings. I'm not sure where,
Yeah, I don't recall that as being an issue, but I might be. I'm-
Coatings, all I know is they just, they have a specific
Kynar,
paint.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's a baked-on.
Baked on enamel, right?
Baked on
Yeah,
ammo,
exactly.
it's just a matter of which color they choose.
Well, this was written in 2007, so I don't know if it was a hot topic back then.
Yeah, I mean, the guy mentioned, whoever it was, somebody said I could put galvanized on to match. Yeah, he can get a roll pan and still hand crimp it that's just galvanized, it's not pre-finished. And yeah, paint doesn't stick to it as well because lead is no longer allowed. And that's what adhered so well, you know, I've seen people use the galvanized, let it rust for 2 years, and it gets enough bite
Yeah.
that then you can get the primer to stick and the paint to stick. But yeah, versus a 20-year baked on, you're gonna be repainting 4, 5, 6 years.
You really, they usually, well, once you
Let
put
me
a
tell you,
new,
with an old house, if you can avoid having to repaint, because you gotta repaint all the time anyway, that's
Yeah,
the thing.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
We had a coating put on the Ann Spencer Museum, like a rubber coating on the roof, and Randy Parr did it. And and we were able to select the color to mix into the coating.
On the
top of the
roof?
metal.
On our metal roof at the Ann Spencer Museum.
call us
So we
in
were
10
able to
years,
keep
see
our
how it is.
original roof, and he
Oh, that's
applied this,
interesting.
this coating with a color on it, and I could ask him what it was that he used,
Sound like
if it
about
would
2
be something
weeks,
that we
you
could
think?
suggest to.
Yeah,
And
it'd be
it's-
interesting
and
to have that
Yeah.
And it
information.
supposedly has a lifetime warranty on it.
Was it rolled on or sprayed on, do you know?
I don't remember if they rolled it on or sprayed it on,
Yeah.
Interesting.
but
I've never seen that
the color
used.
is actually staying.
So
It's been on the
nobody
roof,
knows.
on our roof at the museum for, probably 4 years, and it's keeping that nice. I mean, it's settled down a little bit, you know, but
Yeah.
it's keeping that nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you can find out what that is, that would be interesting to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's sprayed and runs
Mhm.
temperature to cook it, like, cooked.
Yeah.
I don't know if any powder coated roofing systems, I think they're all baked.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Dipped and baked,
Mm-hmm.
sprayed and baked.
I don't know, I found one, it was called the Conklin Metal Roof Coating Restoration System, CONKLIN. I don't know if that's what he used or not, but I will check with him. But this was just something that I found online.
It's not a name I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, Victoria, if we were thinking, we were trying to find some consistency.
They're looking to expand at from not just roof coatings, but other specifications.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm not sure, yeah, certainly the in-kind, staying with metal and metal is really important. You know, because, yeah, the synthetic slates are being allowed in historic districts all over
To replace.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we
I
have.
guess that was my confusion.
Yeah.
I didn't
And-
even ask when I replaced mine.
It was
but
to
I'm not sure
replace
what
Slate,
anyway,
though.
but-
Yeah, to replace
we've
slate.
also, and we've also, I think we have
But I didn't hear
approved,
any-
that
the
other
issues with
material
those,
that he
like
had,
Warping and stuff and.
the slate look asphalt, we've also approved before, I believe.
Asphalt shingles?
I'm pretty sure.
That's the Grand Manor, that Grand Manor roof.
Say that again, Victoria?
That was for a city-owned structure that would not have been able to physically stand the weight of slate because it had, the wood had deteriorated
Well,
so
we-
much.
well, we also,
Yeah.
we also,
Tower on the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but prior to that, a lot of the commissioners probably weren't here. I think Sandra was, Chandra. We had a house on Rivermont Ave that had a asbestos shingle roof, which looks sort of in between slate and asphalt, really. You know, the old asphalt, the old asbestos roofs.
Yeah.
And he wanted to replace that with metal. Now, that was just the opposite. So what we told him is, what I suggested is if he put a Grand Manor roof shingle, it would be cheaper than the metal, and it would be more appropriate for the area and his house, because that area, that's upper Rivermont.
Oh, that's
so most of those
Rubenberg's
houses-
house, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
most of those houses up there do have slate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
He
looks
was like
good.
one of the few that I could see that there was a asbestos roof. So with that one, we approved that. But that was a special case. Obviously, you're not gonna put asbestos back on the roof, and metal didn't seem appropriate for that house.
No, no,
So that was the next best thing,
Yeah. Mhm.
other than
It's
slate.
so funny, it shows you
worked
what
out.
you don't know. When I replaced my roof, I assumed I had to replace it with slate, so I did.
Well, see, that's,
You set a
that's,
great precedent.
I'm not sure I would have made any other decision otherwise, I just didn't know it any better.
Yeah.
It definitely gets pricey if you're doing the whole house.
It did, it was. But, slate is recyclable, so we were
Yeah.
able to salvage and sell the slate that we could salvage from our
Good.
house,
Yeah.
so.
Mhm.
Kay Butterfield also replaced her slate roof with slate. She was on this commission.
How much is the difference in the real slate and the fake slate, as if I really wanna know now, but,
The third.
really?
I think it depends on which one you choose, because there's so many varieties of the fake stuff now.
Hmm.
And you have to be really careful, because the fake ones, Rick and I were just having a little sidebar, there are fake ones that have been around a few years, and they already are curling and delaminating and popping,
Yeah.
and,
Well, my slates are not as big as that either.
yeah.
I got-
Even some of the small fake ones that came out in the early years,
Mhm.
and people bought into them, are delaminating, and you can clearly see that they're,
Yeah, I don't know what it would have affected my decision, I just didn't know I had a
Who
decision.
did your house?
Craftsman.
Okay.
yeah. And Craftsman did the one up and across the street that had the clay tile and replaced it in kind with clay tile.
Mhm.
I don't even wanna know how much that,
Yeah.
I heard 6 figures.
I think.
Big
most of
time.
them
Because,
weren't even-
yeah, because they completely did, ice shield the entire roof underneath it.
Well, he did mine too, that was
Did he?
one thing about replacing the whole thing, is he
Yeah.
put the shield in, and he,
Yeah.
the old iron nails are, damaged eventually,
Yeah.
a lot of, everything around them, and so he was able to use, better materials,
Yeah.
so.
Probably stainless
Mhm.
steel. Okay,
Thank you.
All right.
so maybe Victoria, if some of the other districts, did you say you pinged Charlottesville?
What was that?
Did you, get maybe some other HPCs?
Alexandria, Charlottesville, and then the national standards, and maybe one other one, but it's not coming to mind right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's always good to see what others, particular ones with high caseload, if you will.
Mhm.
So what we wanna do is see about rewriting those details about metal roofs and adding that to, now, the process of adding things to that, does that require, I assume that does require a vote, does it require any kind of public notice?
That would require going to city council.
City council?
So what we have is a running list of things we would like to change about the guidelines and then would send it forward in one swoop, so it wouldn't have to keep going to them.
Yeah.
It
just
is a
go one big
process.
swoop. And if we are gonna get back to the, I'm assuming Tom, or, no, you said Ann was sick, that we wanted to get back to that demolition by
Yeah.
neglect issue, that we could cut something, some teeth into that as well.
Mm-hmm. My neighborhood needs it big time.
Well, we've certainly seen prominent structures, that big warehouse up on 12th, yeah, not a history.
We're aiming to
Oh, yeah,
reschedule for next
that's right.
month, so mark it down in your calendars,
I'm
but
sorry, say again?
we're aiming to push it to next month. We'll see,
That
hopefully life won't
discussion.
get in the way,
Okay,
in the way again.
sure. Okay,
Thank you. Good work, Victoria.
excellent. I guess there's no other business, so we'll call the meeting adjourned.